Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I share the sentiment with quite a few PR and comms people who are in-house. I find a way to show how PR and comms impact revenue. I think this is something we struggled with for a long time, and it was something that was addressed with AVE, which I'm really pleased has now gone away. But it's really difficult to show how PR moves the needle in terms of lead generation and revenue and have that direct impact. My journey into comms sort of started when I went to university. So I studied English language and media at university with the end goal of becoming a journalist. But I've always loved writing. But getting work experience or an internship at a newspaper or within journalism was pretty tough. So a family friend had suggested I maybe try communications, and I was fortunate enough to get a position as a communications coordinator at a global technology company called Thales. So that was sort of the start of my comms journey, essentially working on both internal and external communications in the HQ team. And I just, in that role, got to see how different parts of communications worked. And 10 years on, I'm still really enjoying working in this field. And today I head up communications and content at a cybersecurity startup called Tessian. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey. So my first experience with data, I think from what I can remember, is when I was working at a global PR agency, Hotwire. So that was, I went in-house after a few years. I went agency side after a few years in-house. So I was working in the B2B technology team there. And we'd often have clients asking us for advice on how we get media placement in tech and business titles. And I quickly learned, or was quickly taught, that compelling statistics to support, say, opinions of spokespeople or talking points of spokespeople were ways that you could secure headlines in that media. So during my first couple of years at Hotwire, I pitched a number of sort of statistic-led, research-led stories to the media that would contain either, say, survey data or data that we'd extracted from our clients' sort of technology platforms. And so almost essentially sort of quantify the problem or the pain point they were solving. So for example, we could say X amount is lost to cyber attack every year, and it just creates a slightly more compelling headline. So that, I think, was sort of my first introduction of using data in a way that brought PR and external communications campaigns to life. I mean, data's super powerful in bringing stories and anecdotes and opinions, etc., to data. So adding data to a pitch or a campaign sort of instantly adds that newsworthy element and addresses the so what that I think is so important to do throughout every PR and communications campaign. It's also even stronger if you're the only vendor that, or the only person sharing that data for the very first time, or it's data that no other vendor could provide. So I guess for the latter, that sort of data that no one else can provide, leveraging data from the technology platform of the vendor or the client is really powerful. It's sort of seeing what trends can you see in your data that can tell a story and provide information to reporters and their readers that they couldn't get anywhere else. So I think a really good example here is during COVID, I think it was during the first lockdown in the COVID pandemic in 2020, my company works with email security data, and we were able to see, working with our data science and engineering teams, how much email traffic had increased when employees were forced to work from home, because we could see that they were communicating more with colleagues and co-workers. So that was a really interesting human stat that we could share with reporters to tap into what was currently going on at the time. We could also glean statistics and percentage increases in, say, phishing attacks and insider attacks as employees worked more remotely. So it was a way to demonstrate our expertise in the field, but also provide data that related to a news trend. Another way I've sort of typically used data in my campaigns is third-party surveys. To usually, because I'm in the B2B sector, through employees or IT decision makers around a certain topic. So most recently, our PR team did a campaign around how ineffective security awareness training is. And we would get the attitudes and opinions of employees to communicate how ineffective traditional methods are, and then with the narrative of our spokespeople providing that alternative solution and a different way of doing things. It was really powerful. Within sort of the first week, we'd had over 25 pieces of media coverage. So it just shows like how putting a data point in your headline is going to help you sort of make that newsworthy story. I mean, you just have to look at the reports like cost of a data breach by IBM that comes out every year. Everyone gets so excited about it, and it just shows the power that data can have in building those stories. So I measure share of voice from an external communications standpoint. I also look at our aided and unaided awareness in a brand awareness survey. So looking at how many of our target audience are aware of our brand versus our competitors, and we measure that to see if it's going up or down alongside our share of voice. So very much top of funnel metrics. I also look after internal communications in my role at Tessian. So employee engagement surveys and data points around that are my go-to metrics on the internal side, as well as share of voice and brand awareness on the external. Yeah, so to measure the success of my PR campaigns and to assess sort of competitive landscape, I use a media monitoring tool, which helps me understand share of voice, brand mentions, tier 1 coverage, and and reach as well. I rely heavily on Google Analytics, as I'm sure many other people do, just to understand where blog traffic's coming from, and also just to see levels of engagement on certain blog content. And then on the social media side, I tend to use Hootsuite or Sprout Social, and also the sort of analytics tools within platforms like LinkedIn and Twitter, just to see which posts are getting the most engagement, which then will inform our campaigns moving forward. Just be curious and have a desire to learn about what's going on in the world, and then to try new things out. There are so many data tools out there that allow you to experiment and give you then the data to back up how you move forward. So you could come up with so many creative ideas, test them out, and then use that to inform how you move forward and create even more successful campaigns. I think a thirst for that sort of curiosity to look into new ways of working and looking at how other companies are crafting their communications campaigns as well. Just drink up as much information and knowledge as you can. I think the best ideas come from inspiration from others. So definitely have curiosity and a desire to experiment and test things.